So when I asked Dr. Talal Abu-Ghazaleh what I should say about him, he said it doesn't matter. There's no such thing as bad press. But he did make sure that everyone, we don't miss the fact. All right. So without further ado, Dr. Talal Abu-Ghazaleh, His Excellency, will be speaking.
I'm half an hour late, so I will cut my presentation to 10 minutes, so that you don't get worried and frustrated. We have in our history, the Arabs know this, a mystic figure called Jiha. And Jiha was once asked to make a speech like myself today. So he looked at the audience and he said, "Do you know what I'm going to talk to you about?" And they said, "No." He said, "Since you're so ignorant, there is no sense in me addressing you." And he stepped down. So they called him again to the podium, and he asked the same question. They all said, "Of course we know." He said, "Since you're so knowledgeable, it's a waste of time to tell you anything." And he stepped down. So finally, the third time they said, "We're going to get him this time." So they've divided into two parts. Half of them said yes, half of them said no. So he said, "Those who know will tell those who don't." I was hoping to do the same, but my distinguished senior technical advisor, my friend and my brain twin, His Excellency Dr. Jawad Anani, said, "Don't do that, please." I was gonna say this and stepped out. So, my respect for you, I will just punish you for surviving so long and staying to listen to me. So, and I want to also thank my colleagues who are with me, Khalid Dalal, who's my outreach senior consultant, and my two grandchildren, my granddaughter and my grandson. Thank you for bearing with me through the outreach. But still, I'm not going to make a speech. Normally, what I do when I'm invited, I send a forward paper telling the conference organizers what I want to say. And they got that. And when I come, I have a written speech, which is completely different. and I have given that also, I think Khalid is here, you've already, okay, so there is a written speech which, it's not this paper, no. It's a written speech. It's a speech, not a paper or a pamphlet. And I think the organizers may consider circulating it by email, if they like it. If you like it, you can do that. If you don't like it, trash it. I don't mind. I do a lot of speeches, so I'm not worried if you don't circulate it. And normally, when I come to the podium, I say completely different things from what I said earlier and what I sent later as my official speech. What I want to tell you today is, I want you to know that this young man is 80 years old in 1 week. Wow. So, and this old man was introduced to the knowledge revolution in 1965. I had my first computer course. It was at that time called word processing. And it was under the leadership of IBM. So I started thinking, when I went to that program as a course, I was being trained on data processing, I realized that there is something coming. Something told me that this is the beginning, it's not the end. And that since I decided to be a good student, and that's what I call myself, if you ask me what you are, I say I'm a knowledge worker. I decided to be a knowledge worker. And that's why in 2001, the United Nations elected me to chair the UN ICT task force, which wrote the strategy. We developed the whole strategy for information technology and telecommunications for the world. So it was because simply I did my work and I studied and I came to that point. So, cut that crap. Where are we now? Where are we now? We are at the verge of another revolution which you all are talking about, artificial intelligence. But we don't realize, I don't realize, I'm sorry, maybe you're more knowledgeable, you are more knowledgeable than me, you're experts, you're MIT graduates, I am not. And I'm not the only one who's complaining that I'm not an MIT graduate. So I know you're much, much more capable of predicting the future. But I'm writing a book now under the title Brave New World, Version 2. I'm sure you know about the book, Brave New World. That is something that inspired me at that time. And because I needed to earn some money working in my school years, I did translate that book more than half a century ago, 60 years ago. So I'm now inspired to write a new book about the future Brave New World. And I've been working at that book. In brief, I would like to tell you that everything we talked about today and everything we talk about every day, I'm not criticizing this meeting. I'm criticizing the whole world. We're talking about things that are irrelevant to the future, unfortunately. Everything we're talking about has nothing to do, and will, in 50 years, we will be seen as if we are in the Dark Ages, in the Stone Ages. What we're talking about has nothing to do with what the children of my grandchildren will be talking about. In future, our humanity will be in two parts, human beings and machines. They are humanity. They are not two things. Humans will be talking to machines more than they talk to each other. Like it or don't like it, I was speaking about this once at a conference 15 years or 20 years ago, and one lady came up and said, we don't like it. We could go to school and university to meet our future husbands. You're telling us that that will not exist anymore. I said, wrong. You will be able to get married to any human being in the world through the virtual world, or even to a machine, and I'm not kidding. Now there is a process going on of mating and dating between human beings and machines or robots. So the world that we are heading to is something we're not looking at. We're talking about today. We're talking about yesterday. Unfortunately, I am at this age, I'm going to spend the rest of my life as a knowledge worker to tell the world what the future of the world is. And I have no problem with being very ambitious, because I have a record. I don't want to talk about it. You can Google me, you can YouTube me, you can, you know, and I can only say that I have managed to build the largest intellectual property company in the world, the global leader worldwide. That's not easy, out of very small, underdeveloped part of the world, to be able to surpass, by far, the American competitors of mine in the field of intellectual property protection. So, what I'm saying is, the future is something different. There are, fortunately, some think tanks who are worrying about the day when robots will take over control over the world. And that's not a joke, again. It's like what we're talking about when we say mating and dating between machines and human beings. We're going to have a day when, because through artificial intelligence, and I had the privilege of hearing about artificial intelligence 30 years ago from Bill Gates. I was sharing with him, I had the honor of sharing with him a panel, and I asked him, how do you describe the rest of this century? In one sentence, he said, in one word, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is going to change everything in this world. Not just everything about the way of doing things, but about ourselves, our human parts, our physiology, our physics, our body, our brain, our everything. Our brain will be as powerful as a computer in capacity of holding information, retrieving it, sorting it, etc. And machines will be as intelligent as the human being in being able to take decisions and action without referring to a human being. So we're going into a new brave world. Brave in the sense that it's very challenging to the machines and to us. And by the way, machines will have the superior hands over human beings. Is that bad? I don't know. I don't think it is. I don't mind it. As long as these machines, which I created, and the problem is when you make a machine intelligent and you think you have taught it to do what you want it to do, because it's becoming intelligent, it will use its intelligence to develop itself without referral to you. So machines will be out of control as a result of self-intelligizing. And that is something that we have to live with. And I'm not talking about the long future. I'm talking about the exponential speed in which this technology is overtaking the world, is overtaking us all. And we're still talking about what we used to talk about 10 and 20 and 30 years ago. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we're heading to a new world. I don't mean we, because I'm not going to be around. And many of you will not be around by that time. But 100 years or 50 years is tomorrow, when you think in terms of future. That's my first message. My second message is 5 minutes. My second message is, you know that we had what people call Arab Spring and what I called the Dark Ages. Europe passed through these Dark Ages. We're not the only exception in the world. Europe, some countries in Europe stayed in these Dark Ages for 70 years. And the destruction during the Dark Ages in Europe and the number of people killed surpasses what has happened in our part of the world. But the good news, and if I live, I would like you to remind me, if I'm not there, you can say, he said, that this is over and we are now on the verge of the Arab Renaissance. This is the future of the region. And if you have any doubt, please tell me why should every power in the world fight over our region in the Arab world if that part of the world is useless, hopeless, and has no future? Why is every damn country, I'm not talking about Russia, China, and America, I'm talking about every even middle class or small country of the world wants to have status in our part of the world. Why? If that area is finished and hopeless and has no future. No. History and geography tell us that we have been in charge of the process of progress and not development, progress of the world for 5 centuries. 500 years the Arab world ruled the world, ruled it to the better, but not with another difference between development and progress. Western technology and Western development is development. It has no moral principles like we have in our 500 years of progress, which means development with a moral perspective. We are a great nation. We have been, and we are to be credited for every science, art, or development that we are witnessing now. And we were the founders, the grandfathers of progress in the world. So we don't want to be up to the standards of the world. We want to lead the world again. And I'm sure that looking at my grandchildren and the grandchildren of my friends, I know that is going to happen. Why? because God invented, not America, God invented the internet. You know that why? Because the internet was not the first internet. The first internet was in France, and it was called the Minitel.
Yes.
It was invented, the internet was invented before being invented. It may sound like a stupid statement, but it is a fact. But unfortunately, the French decided to make it a French-wise environment only, and did not want to allow the world to access it. I know as much about internet as anybody in the world, because I also chaired the Internet Governance Forum, and I started it when I was the chairman of the Global Alliance for ICT and Development, and I started the first forum on the governance of the internet. And I know what problems and who runs it and how it is run. It's a development, and the world is, in fact, I can say that we invented it, because we invented the zero, which is the basis of the internet. And when we invented the zero, the Europeans said Arabs are idiots. How can a zero be a number? They looked down upon us when we invented the number zero. But that's the basis of this great tool that I know will change the world, will change everything. And that's why we, in our organization, how did we become leaders in many fields worldwide? Because we were able to capture the enabling power of the internet, how the internet can make things better. So everything we're talking about from now on, unfortunately, and that may offend the scientists, it may offend the lawyers, it will offend many architects, etc., because they think that what they're doing is great development. No. The only development in future is ICT-based. Anything you do, which is not ICT and artificial intelligence-based, is a waste of time. So we have to realize that we need to change. We have to change our mindsetting. You cannot continue to do things as you're doing them now. And we have, in our organization, done it. We have invented a number of tools. We have invented a lot of ways and means of changing the world. And we are going to be a change agent. I came here to this great institution. Thank you, MIT. Thank you, SciTech, for inviting me and for me provoking you and making me and regretting having invited me. But I will tell you that you may one day remember that I told you that you, even at MIT, you have to change. Yeah. You have to realize that you're at the top of the world. I'm not underestimating what MIT. I know that you are #1 worldwide. But even you as #1, you're still talking the language I used when I was studying at the American University of Beirut. Everything I had today was like when I was at AUB. And that was over half a century, or that was 60 years ago. But it's the same language. We're talking about the same language. That language doesn't work anymore. That language has to change. And to change that language, you have to change your thinking about it. The world is not the world we are living today. We are heading to another world completely. Completely. It's not a process of development. It's a process of change, a new creation. The world has so far been a process of development and progress. As of now, it's not development and progress. It's a new election. It's new revolution. It's new creation. The world will be created again. And I hope by the end of the year, I will have my book published about how the world will look in the year 2050. I'm predicting the future of the world in 2050. And 2050, ladies and gentlemen, is tomorrow. Thank you very much.
computer science major has reconsidered. It's about time. So, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, and other esteemed guests, allow me just a very brief moment to officially conclude the inaugural SciTech Conference of 2018, and hopefully the first of many. It's been short. It's been a short conference, but a very long day. But one day is not enough to hear from all the exciting ideas, research, and innovation that is going on, and how none of it will matter. And I'm speaking on behalf of the ASO when I say that we hope this experience had an impact on you. As students of a research university, we hope this conference is not just an exploration of the problems of the world and the many creative and courageous ways many of you are trying to solve them, but also a glimpse into the future. So I was also on the same page. And the world of groundbreaking ideas and innovation that you are pioneering for the decades to come. We hope this conference was an opportunity to see how our shared vision for the future will bring us together. We hope our ideas will achieve a relevant impact around the world, and especially in the region that we all hold close to our hearts. We hope you enjoyed SciTech 2018, and finally, we hope to see you next year. And with that, Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for a very successful SciTech 2018.